Gilgamesh, originally Bilgamesh, is the main character in the Epic of Gilgamesh, an Akkadian poem that is considered the first great work of literature, and in early Sumerian poems. In the epic, Gilgamesh is a demigod of superhuman strength who builds the city walls of Uruk to defend his people, and after the death of his friend Enkidu travels to meet the sage Utnapishtim, who survived the Great Flood. His name means something to the effect of "the ancestor is a young man". Gilgamesh is generally seen by scholars as a historical figure, since inscriptions have been found which confirm the existence of other figures associated with him in the epic. If Gilgamesh existed, he probably was a king who reigned sometime between 2800 and 2500 BC. The Sumerian king list claims that Gilgamesh ruled the city of Uruk for 126 years. According to the Tamil inscription, Gilgamesh and his son Urlugal rebuilt the sanctuary of the goddess Ninlil in Tumal, a sacred quarter in her city of Nippur. The story was discovered in the 19th century and allows us to take a glimpse into the cultures and people of the region. The earliest cuneiform references to Gilgamesh on clay tablets relate to the Dictionary of the Library of Ashurbanipal. The Gilgamesh story was written over a millennium by no specific author, but was a culmination of many different people adding their own part to the epic. This epic poetry is a cycle of Sumerian recordings, probably of an earlier oral tradition, in which he appears under the name Bilgamesh. These poems include many of the stories that would make up the later, more famous Epic of Gilgamesh, written in the Akkadian language. The latest and most comprehensive telling of the Gilgamesh legend was the 12-tablet Standard Babylonian version, compiled circa 1200 BC by the exorcist priest Sinlegi Unini. Fragments of an epic text found in Meturan, modern Tel Haddad, relate that at the end of his life Gilgamesh was buried under the riverbed. The people of Uruk diverted the flow of the Euphrates, passing Uruk for the purpose of burying the dead king within the riverbed. In April 2003, a German expedition claimed to have discovered his last resting place. Some of the Sumerian texts spell his name as Bilgamesh. Initial difficulties in reading cuneiform resulted in Gilgamesh's name being initially given as Isdubar, when parts of the epic were first published in English in 1872. Although Gilgamesh was originally considered by scholars to be a semi-divine hero, he is now generally regarded as a historical king. In most cuneiform texts, the name of Gilgamesh is preceded with the star-shaped Dingir determinative ideogram for divine beings, but there is no evidence for a contemporary cult, and the Sumerian Gilgamesh myths suggest that deification was a later development, unlike the case of the Akkadian god kings. The earliest datable cuneiform tablet bears the name of Enmebaragesi of Kish. He and his son Aga of Kish are associated with Gilgamesh in the epic, as well as appearing in the king list and Tumal Chronicle. If Gilgamesh was a historical king, he probably reigned in about the 26th century BC. Over the centuries, there may have been a gradual accretion of stories about Gilgamesh, some possibly derived from the real lives of other historical figures, in particular Gudea, the second dynasty ruler of Lagash. In the Qumran scroll known as Book of Giants, the names of Gilgamesh and Humbaba appear as two of the antediluvian giants. This same text was later used in the Middle East by the Manichaean sects, and the Arabic form Gilgamishul Gilgamesh survives as the name of a demon according to the Egyptian cleric Al-Suiti. The name Gilgamesh appears once in Greek as Gilgamos in Aelian's De Natura Animalium on the nature of animals, written circa AD 200. In Aelian's story, the king of Babylon, Seuchorus or Euachorus, determined by oracle that his grandson Gilgamos would kill him, so he threw him out of a high tower. An eagle broke his fall, and the infant was found and raised by a gardener, eventually becoming king. Theodore Bar Konai, circa AD 600, writing in Syriac, also mentions a king Gligmos, Gmigmos, or Gamigos, as last of a line of 12 kings who were contemporaneous with the patriarchs from Peleg to Abraham. This occurrence is also considered a vestige of Gilgamesh's former memory.